Hey everybody, it's Tafony here once again, and today's rambling about is going to be on the Behringer RS-9, a 52 HP drum sequencer for Eurorack. It is 10 channels, it is 64 steps, it is internal or USB or MIDI or CV syncable drum sequencing beast. And I need to do a lot of disclaimers today, so I'm not affiliated with Behringer in any way. I'm not affiliated with anybody in any way. I imported this new from a European retailer. I'm not, I spent my own money. I am just some guy. This isn't journalism. This is just rambling. This is just my own thoughts, my own opinions, my own crap. And if you're here, I don't need to introduce the many controversies that Behringer has been in, but if you're not familiar, I'm not going to be the one to introduce you to them, but do a Google of Behringer's FCC dispute, Behringer versus AFEX Systems, Behringer versus Dave Smith Instruments, Behringer versus Peter Kieran, Behringer versus anyone on their Facebook group. There's other ones that I'm neglecting to mention, but I don't think I am the one, and this is the place to talk about the efficacy of buying products, because obviously I did buy a Behringer product, but if you're here, I'm not going to be the first one to introduce that to you. Hope I didn't bunt the question too badly. Normally I'd say, more importantly than all that, it sounds like this. But today I will say, maybe not more importantly than all that, it will work like this. While I hook this up, I'm going to do a little spiel and connect. So what I do in my case with my Oxy 1 and with whatever clock source I'm using, I run this IntelliGel buffered malt here. So I'm going to take the CV out. I'm using the internal clock here, and that will clock things like the Modbat Performer, the Qubit Nautilus, the Qubit Data Bender, and there's other stuff that this is going to as well. There's a buffer for my other case. But anyway, so that's where that's going. And then I will hook up some drum voices. So if you've been watching any of the videos lately, you're going to see some familiar faces. Whoa, hello. And we're playing. Let's stop that first. So that is our Battering Ram by Shackmat. We're going to do less reverb too. I love my reverb, but this might be a little crazy. Our second voice for my snare is going to be the Ericsson Pico Drum 2. And then we've got our two hi-hat voices, which are the Shackmat Archer's Rig. I'm already worrying that Behringer's going to make a cork sniffer video on me. I don't actually have much of anything bad to say about this thing. So, on that note, there is the this is like, I've done one little jam on here. The Rambling About series is just a vlog. I'm Tafony, your friend, or I'm trying to be. I'm just some nerd, and I want to talk and play and go over the stuff and learn together with you. Now, sometimes I show stuff that I'm quite familiar with, and today is definitely not going to be that. Today I am very new to the RS-9, but I do have some experience with the Ericsson drum sequencer. Now, I'm not going to go into all 10 tracks, and I think the Ericsson drum sequencer only had 8, but I can't help but make a comparison here. And I'm not just saying that because Behringer does do, what do they call it? Inspired gear modules. I think this is, now it's marketed and branded, well, those are the same things, but like this is a Eurorack version of their 909 desktop reproduction, and it is sort of in the vein of the 909, but I can't help but make a comparison to the Ericsson drum sequencer because I had it, the way that there is all those accents and trigger outputs along the top, the way that there is 16 key buttons here, and it's just like, even the layout and the size, it's just hard not to make a comparison. But I think some things here that are different off the bat, I was really surprised, and I don't have the Ericsson drum sequencer anymore to talk about it, but I was like a little shocked when I got that one about how bad the keys felt on it. Like, I just remember like Eurorack stuff, you sell your kidney to pick it up, and then it shows up, and it's usually beautifully built, and it's usually like, okay, was this worth it? Probably not. Like, does the trim quality matter that much? Probably not. And I'd trade it in for a price discount any day, which I've sort of done with this one. But on the Ericsson drum sequencer, I was like, these keys feel horrible. They're like mesh buttons, or sorry, what are they called? So if you use a mechanical keyboard, there's like a physical switch, there's a nice clickiness to it and stuff, and yeah, maybe you don't want it to be 1,000 decibels every time you press the trigger, but on that drum sequencer, they were just terrible. It was like pressing mush. Like, I couldn't believe they were asking that, and I bought like black keycaps for it. They were like $200. I'm like, you can't even give us mechanical switches. But on the RS-9, what I was not expecting, and it's one of those things when you see the video, you like I watched their launch video and stuff, and I was like, I didn't know what to expect from it. Not that I was like, waiting or chomping at the bit or whatever for like what the build quality was like. But these are like, I don't know how to describe it. They're not how I expected, and they're not bad. They're fine, but they're like, I don't know. These remind me of like a phone we had growing up. Like, they're firm to press, and that's fine, and I like that, I think. But those Ericsson drum, if you tried the Ericsson drum sequencer and you're expecting that feel here of like really floppy, lots of travel, these are like almost clicky in a weird way. And I don't know how to describe that on video, but it's, I think if you're going to use something as performative as this is, it's like worth talking about. But anyway, you don't need 10 minutes of me talking about that. Let's make some music. So we're going to go into pattern 2 because I made pattern 1. I'm going to try and do 135 BPM. I like to do like a little harder stuff. I know it's not everyone's taste, but that's what I want to do. So what we did, I'm not going to use song mode. I haven't got there yet, and I won't get to that in this video, that's for sure. And we want to go to pattern mode. We're in our second pattern, and then we're going to go into step. Now what I want to do is set my length to 64. And I do it by doing this, I believe. So let's see, now that I go out of length. Nope. If I hit record, I'm in auto. I hit length. I hit 64. Okay, that's how we do it. So now I can go back and forth. No, I'm in auto scroll mode, so I can't, but now I can. So so you have to have the record button on. You can do live recording with this, which I won't get into today, but like, again, that's why the button action matters, is because if you're doing live recording, like, it was an option on the Ericsson drum sequencer, but I really hated those keys. I am coming across as a cork sniffer, aren't I? But on here, there is live recording that can be done on these keys. I'm not going to demo that for now, but when you're in record mode, make sure you have that record on. We're going to go up to our first page, the first 16 steps, the next 16 steps. Just to spice it up a little bit, I'll throw in an extra one. We're going to do mostly 4 on the floor, but maybe I'll just swap it in with a little extra one on a time or 2, and then we'll hit play. Now that we have that in, let's hit play. So there's our first track. And one thing that's on here that is not on the Ericsson drum sequencer, I'm sorry, I won't make comparisons to the two all the time. I'm not, just real quick, I'm not trying to, I'm not really sure I would call this like a knockoff of that. I don't genuinely believe that. I just like knowing how disappointed I was with that one, and I'll make a long video on all of my trials and tribulations with a million Eurorack sequencers, but I'm going to make comparisons to that one because I think I have a lot of things that I actually just like better on this one. And with that being said, one thing I really do like is the dedicated buttons for selecting the channels. It's just so much easier than having to use that shift or that key combo. I don't think it was a shift function, but like, yeah, so there's our kicks were already in there. We'll go to our second track. And we will enter some snares. So there is an auto scroll button. Again, God, it's so nice to just have that freaking thing. You can just, so if I want to scroll through, I don't need to use any key combos. I can just jump through manually. But if I wanted to just follow where I'm at, you just hit the auto scroll button and go. Oh, it's so much easier. God, I wish, why doesn't the Oxy One have an auto scroll button, right? Like there's all these like copy and paste functions and just like, give me the auto scroll, please. I really appreciate that. So we're going to hit record, and I'm going to show you on that auto scroll note in a second that, so while record's enabled, we can hit in some snares. No, auto scroll wasn't enabled now. So now it looks, yeah, I'm stuck in 16 here, as is this one. So if I go to length, go all the way to the end. Okay, yeah, I guess I didn't do something right on the length change. So I'm still on the length wrong. If we go auto scroll now, you'll see I'm going through. So we'll go back to our snare channel, and I'll set it to auto scroll, and we're just going to throw in a couple extra snares, not on the first one. And not on this one, but let's go into the third track, and we're going to enter some hats, and I just do this a little randomly, just for the sake of this video. This is our closed hat. Good, and then in our fourth track, I'm just gonna enter some step recording like that. We'll just hit them, and I'll open like that. And what I do like to do with this one, right off the bat, this is a nice performance tool. If you disable the recording, you can still enter trigs, and it'll go back. So I'm gonna, if my performance, I want my things to expand, I have a basic step sequence that I've written in, but then I can come in here, fill it up with more, right? You have a big drop. And I've filled out my hat sequences to make it really dense. And then I let it go back to the more sparse sequence that I wrote originally. And I think that's really nice. I don't think I actually discovered that intentionally, but I thought it was like, okay, there's a really cool way to use that for sure. So that is that. There is note repeat. There's a trigger here, so I'll show you this. I'm not totally sure, because it's the same as, no, it's not. Okay. Okay. I was just going to say that I didn't really get why there's a trigger there, but it actually makes sense. So like, it does trigger when you select it, right? And I don't know if there's a way to disable that or not, but you can trigger it here, and that'll change the channel. But if you're standing on a channel and you're not sure which one you're looking at, now obviously this is my kick track because it's 4 on the floor, but if I hit trigger, okay, that was my kick. Channel 3, what is that? Well, I mean, I just heard it because I changed the channel, but if you hit the trigger, okay, that's my closed hat sound. So yeah, that's a cool feature. If we hit play, bring up our tempo bit. There is polyrhythms on board, but we're going to stick to that today. And there is another thing I like, so there's solo tracks. So if we want to solo our kicks, we just hit 1. The performance tools. channels. This is like what I really wanted on the Erica one. Then we'll come off of this. Okay, we won't come off of this. Okay, I gotta come off of it by pressing that same track again. That's totally fine. So if we do mute now, I can mute my kicks. I mean, this is probably more how you do it in performance, so. Yeah. I like that. I don't know, it's... This is what I wanted in a drum sequencer. It's really nice. Now there's pattern mode and song mode. So song mode, you can chain all your patterns. That's sort of like, if I was smart, I would have started the video by going through like the architecture of it. Like the first layer is the step where we put in all our separate tracks. The second layer is the pattern. And I'll go over to my other pattern. It'll go to the end because it's queued, and now it's going to go to pattern 1. And I would be inclined to do a live set by switching between patterns manually. You can do song mode, and this will chain your patterns, or you can chain your patterns using the song mode, but I would be inclined to just, do it there. They all, that's the thing. I'm sure there's a way to change this in the settings, but like, I would think the patterns would share the tempo, right? But they don't. They have their own independent tempos. So if I was doing a live set, maybe fill up 16 pads worth of unique patterns and just go that way. That'd be very cool. So let's go back to my other pattern. And one thing that's cool here is we can tap in a tempo. I really like that too. Oh man. So if you play live with a band in your Eurorack, I know that sounds like something a cork sniffer like me would do, but that's really useful, right? Like live bands, your tempo will change a lot. Ask me how hard it was to record certain stuff to a click, right? Like your performance might be something like this. Nice live performative stuff, and then we'll go solo, bring in some other stuff. Yeah. I don't know. It's really nice. I really like that. It's really just easy, you know? I wish the simplicity was on. I like, Eurorack sequencers have always been such a struggle for, like, and this, there's trade-offs you make in everything, obviously, and this is no exception, but, like, the size and cost and feature set is always a balance, and this one just seems to have a lot. And it certainly has the price. I haven't even scratched the surface, and I'm prepared for all the comments to include a litany of tirades about how I didn't show programming swing or probability or flam or all of those other velocity accent things. But I think there's a good chance that you'll be like me out of the box at first, just seeing what's the workflow like right away. What's the, and this is it. So I think the last thing I'm going to do, one more, we're going to go to our, sorry, that was my step editor. We're going to go to pattern. We're going to create a new third one. We're going to do a little slower tempo. And this will be to play us out, like Bill O'Reilly said. Okay, so track 1 is our kick. We are, you know what, and I'll say another thing real quick here. The simplicity of the mutes here, I really appreciate that. I know I said that before, but whenever I was talking about looking at drum mixers, which is also a thing I struggle with in Eurorack, and my buddy was like, well, one of my requirements was that my drum mixer needs to have mutes, which I have on the Cosmotronic Cosmix. But my buddy was like, do you need mutes? Just mute it on the sequencer side. But then, like, all of my sequencers, it's hard to know where the hell that is, and much less to do it during a performance. So this one, it's so easy, right? Hit mute and hit the track. Like, I really appreciate that. So yeah, let's put in not 4 on the floor. We'll just spice it up a little bit. Hear that? Okay. I don't know where those triggers went, but here we are. Different thing. We'll go to our other track for our snare. Give that some more decay. Go to our third track and put in some hats. So track as well. So I know I barely scratched the surface of this one. I say that every time, but I just wanted to give you a quick overview of how you program, how the very basic workflow of programming drums on this thing is, and I really like it. It's really straightforward. It's really easy to get going in a way that most Eurorack drum sequencers, at least the ones in the rack, aren't really. So I really appreciate that. And we're going to do a little performance thing now to play this out. So I'm Tafony. Thank you so much for watching. Take care, and I'll talk to you soon.